Hey, it's Checkmate, the second fastest speedrunner of Die in the Dungeon Prologue. No, that won't do it all. Who would ever watch a video made by the second fastest runner? More like first loser. I must reclaim my honor. For real. This version is still available to play for free, link is in the description. And for the 2 other people still playing, I'm back. Okay, just beat the game really fast. I'll just do that. No, it wouldn't be a challenge if it were that easy. The game is hard. For those of you who have only played the newest version of the demo or the Origins version, the Prologue is really hard. No OP relics, no relics at all. You just have to win with the dice in your deck. Your starting hand in Prologue is also really weak. In Origins, your boost dice have a chance to roll a 3 at their basic tier, and in the demo you have a hollow boost die and a splash attack die, which are both really powerful to start with. In the Prologue, there is a strong spike in difficulty after the first boss, floors that can one-shot you, and elite versions of all the enemies that came before. And I mentioned the first boss. There are 2 bosses to defeat in the Prologue. Beating the game itself is challenging, but beating it fast and competitively is even harder. The area attack mod is required to get a world record. This mod lets the attack damage hit every enemy at once instead of needing to individually target. This saves so much time in the run by reducing the number of turns needed. However, this mod is locked by default. You have to beat the game and go on to endless mode to unlock it, and it is unlocked with a random event floor. Area is powerful, but you also need a mirror die to unlock its full potential at later floors. The mirror die copies the dice placed opposite the board and interacts with boost die to create amazingly high damage. You don't see these 2 dice in every run, it's random chance, and you have to pull them early in the run to take advantage of them. The random chance, the RNG, is a real defining theme for Die in the Dungeon speedrunning. You have a low RNG chance to get area attack in the early floors. You have a low RNG of actually drawing that area attack into your hand until you discard your deck down. You have low RNG chance to get the right floor rewards to discard your dice down and upgrade the dice as you need. And throughout this whole time, you have a low RNG chance to have easily defeated floors and strong enough rolls to defeat the enemies there. The entire experience is actually pretty frustrating, and hugely addicting. There's a reason why I spent hundreds of hours grinding speedruns and why it's so hard to put it down for other topics once I start. It's a lot like gambling, it's luck dependent and quick. You keep thinking, surely next run is the one, surely this next one. There's been so many bad ones, this next one has to be good. And that's nothing negative to the devs, they made a really fun game. When you do get a good run and a fast time, the adrenaline and dopamine kicks in and it just feels great. I'm competitive and wanted to be the top. I wanted to make videos about being at the top. It's really silly and it's just something to work through personally, which is why I knew that if I was going back in, I'd need an edge. I threatened this several times. There's a lot of unlockable dice that are not area and don't help with speedrunning. In theory, you could go back and wipe your save and unlock only area dice. This could maybe mean you get area dice more often instead of Pierce or Eternal or Bomb, making it easier to find a world record run. The only thing that kept me from it was laziness. You have to do endless runs that take a long time, and the event that unlocks area is not guaranteed. In fact, it took another speedrunner Datwell weeks to unlock area. And it turns out there might even be a sequence that forces other dice unlocks before area. However, there is another way. Your save data is stored locally on your computer, and it's trivial to open it and read it and even modify it with a simple text editor. Don't be intimidated by the formatting, it's just a key and value pair basically. Just look up JSON formatting. There are some interesting stats here like total runs, total wins, where the title is on the left and the value is on the right. But the really interesting part is at the bottom in the unlocked events section. This is definitely a list of the unlocked dice types or bosses defeated that show on the game over screen. They're hashed values, so I'm not sure what is what, but if I did, I could just edit my save data and remove the non-area dice. First things first, start by backing up your save file before you start fiddling with it. Make that a habit and second nature. You can just copy the file and rename it. The name doesn't matter, I just typically add a .back at the end. You can even copy it to a different location if you need. Then I deleted the old save.bytes and started up the game so I could see what a brand new save file looked like, and sure enough, the unlocked events section was pretty much empty. The only thing left was to try out each value one by one to see what the unlocks were. The method I used was to play the first floor, try to draft a new die, and see what special or secret die types were offered. I had to do it a few times each value just to make sure there weren't any mistakes. It was a bit tedious, but way less effort than unlocking area the old-fashioned way, and I found the correct value pretty quick. The next thing to do was to edit my save accordingly. I decided to have area and grow both unlocked. Grow is pretty helpful for the boss fights, and I didn't think it would hurt to have it as an option. Now, I don't know if this actually increased my odds of pulling area, but it definitely felt like I got area dice a lot. The only thing left was to just get a run. This is the part I usually leave out of videos because it's not very exciting. I don't think anyone is really crazy about restarting over and over. Sometimes you get a promising start with an early area, only to have the hand draws and events fail you, and eventually the time just isn't worth it. Or you have something good going and just suddenly die, or floor 18 and 19 beat you up so much that you can't take on the queen bee. Let me show you a few of the attempts and describe what it takes for a run to be competitive for a world record. The start is important. You can recover from a bad start, but ideally you kill the fly in one go, and then get the draw one new die. And that die of course needs to be area. This helps you know right away that the run has potential, and you can get an area die within 6 seconds. For floor 2, you can get the discard 2 dice event, which easily lets you pare down your hand so you can actually draw that area die. The next floor would be best as 2 flies, or at least a single spider archer. This coupled with decent luck are the fastest early floors to clear. The reward should be to upgrade your area dice and one of your boosts to silver. Up until floor 10, you want to have very easily cleared floors. With good rolls on a boost, an attack, and the area, you can turn one wipe most floors that have a couple flies or ants and a moth. The floor rewards should help you upgrade your dice to silver and gold, starting with the area, the boosts, and the remaining attack, and finally the block. You also want to discard the remaining basic attack on this group of floors. Floors 11 through 19 get a bit tougher, and it's harder to one-shot the floors when there are beetles and axe bugs or multiple moths. This is where getting the mirror die is really handy, as it can boost your area attack high enough to keep one-shotting. If you can get the floor skip event this high up, you have a huge advantage to bypass the more challenging floors. Bonus points if this is actually how you pick up your gold hollow mirror die. If you get mirror, make sure to discard one of your boost dice so you can keep your hand to 5. For the queen bee fight, just try to play smart. Either boost up your block or keep it in your hand for the next round, depending on what phase the queen bee is in. You don't want to clutter your hand with just boosting and honey dice. The queen's double attack can do a huge amount of damage, so try to time your block to minimize health lost, especially if you only have a 20 max HP cap. As you are on earlier floors, if you get the hollow mod, put it on an attack die. This will let you play all 3 honey dice for 2 times, 4 times, 8 times the damage. If you have a grow mod, put it on the hollow attack die. This is what will allow you to melt the queen bee's health. After the queen bee fight, there is a difficulty spike, but your deck should be strong enough for it. Hope for as few elite beetles as possible and use the floor rewards to heal whenever you can. There's no denying it, even with my attempts to stack the deck in my favor, it is still a grind to get a good run. I was just about to put it down for a while and come back later, but in hindsight, I got the run I was looking for. And it all started by killing this fly. So turn 1 kill, I immediately tried to get the new dice just to see what I would get, and I got area. The Jester event is actually one of the most powerful ones. If you don't already have an area dice, the Jester can transform your dice into area. He turns your existing dice that you would throw away anyway into something cool, and then doesn't slow you down by having to pick up a new die, discard an old one. On the floor 3, I burned the heal die right away. What I should have done here in hindsight was also put the mirror die out there so it has a chance to re-roll too. For the silver upgrade reward, I immediately upgrade the hollow mirror die, and then it's a top priority to try to upgrade area attack because that's going to be the dice that actually, does the area attack and gets me through floors quicker. Case in point, this floor 4, I just used the boost die to increase the amount of area damage going out. Because it's silver, I'm able to just one-shot all 3 of those flies. Floor 5, get the elite fly. It has 10 HP, it does a lot of damage, but it's not the worst one out there. Really, you don't want to get like the beetle or something that has a lot of HP that you can get through quickly. So you can see what I'm really feeling right now is there's a lot of floors I'm not getting my area die right away, which in turn is slowing me down. So that's why my focus is on trying to get these dice discarded so I actually get my area attack. I use a block, which I try not to do. I try to just take damage, but I've already taken so much damage and gotten low. I don't want to waste the run just with the death. And it actually takes me 3 turns, which if I'd gotten the right rolls and the right RNG, this should have been a 1 turn easy. I don't want to end the entire run, even though at this point it is not looking very good. I'm not getting area, I'm getting poor rolls on my silver mirror die, but I just try to go for the elite fly to bring his health down, because my goal is next turn to completely wipe every enemy, which I do, thankfully. So the final discard's huge. I get rid of my extra boost, and now I've got 5 dice in my hand. I'm going to get these every single turn, so no more of this silly business where I don't get the area attack. Very nice. I will upgrade my boost and my other attack die. Floor 9's an event. Hollow's great. I put it on the grow because having hollow on my attack die is going to really allow me to boost that into the stratosphere with the queen bee's honey. So I've got a couple options here. I just try to go for the mirror and the area just because that was the first path I saw. I upgrade the mirror die to gold first, is probably going to be a higher boost to my damage than just upgrading the single area attack die. I go ahead and upgrade my block dice to silver. That's the last one to silver. Any other upgrades will just be to gold, which is perfect. Floor 12 is another complete wipe. I don't want another dice. I have 5. I have the 2 that I want. I just need them to get upgraded. Floor 13, I spend an extra turn that would really be nice to get to 7 to kill the roach. And I go ahead and put block there to try to avoid damage, even though that cost me a little bit of time. The reward is the gold, and I put that on the area dice, so I should be able to just keep rolling through. Floor 14 is when I actually get the discard 2 dice. This is one of my favorite events. I think it's one of the best ones for speedrunning. This time it came way too late to be anything useful, so I just skipped the event. I don't need a new dice. I don't know why I clicked it. There was a gold area there, which would have been kind of fun. But the nice thing about the mirror die is I basically have 2 area whenever I use my mirror die. I put grow on my area dice. That'll be helpful in the queen bee, I'm sure. Floor 17, I get the upgrade to max. You don't want to click the silver one accidentally when you have all silver. Having 2 gold dice is really good on floors that have a single strong enemy like a beetle surrounded by weak enemies, because you can just boost and mirror your area dice and then add a little extra on top whenever you target that specific high HP enemy. So I spend a little extra time on floor 19 to try to avoid taking as much damage as I can, and finish it off in 2 hits, and I get a gold, which I put on the boost. So queen bee fight, this is one where if you don't play this right, especially if you have a silver block rather than a gold block, you can get into trouble really quickly. I decided to use the mirror on that to try to avoid taking damage early on as fast as I could, or as much as I could, and then you can see where the mirror attack, where the hollow attack coupled with the mirror really allows me to take a huge chunk off the HP of the queen bee, just right at the beginning. So we're in a similar situation where I need to have enough blocks so I don't get destroyed by the queen bee and end the run. I've already dealt so much damage that we're pretty close to the end anyway. So for the next turn, I'm just trying to burn so I can get through to the next turn and get some new dice into my hand. And at 445, I've defeated the queen bee. So I get my final dice up to gold, heal back up, and we're on to the difficulty spike. So floor 21 is really bad. You don't want to have this many elite beetles in your speed run because they have so much health. They take forever to attack, they do a lot of damage, and they block, which makes them take even longer to destroy. So 2 turns for floor 21. I don't need any new dice. I don't need to change my hand. I just need to heal back up. Floor 22 is just an event that I just skipped through. For floor 23, once again, we have an elite beetle, which is really not great. I'm able to take out 2 out of the 3 enemies with my attack. The beetle takes an extra turn, which is too bad. Every turn we take is just time, just wasting. Or the next reward is hollow. I already have 2 dice on hollow and I only have 3 energy, so I can play all of my dice every turn if I want. I didn't really need to take the hollow, but I'm just programmed when I see hollow, I take it. Now you might have noticed that my time here on floor 24 is already 5 minutes and 45 seconds. That's a decent time, but it's way slower than the pace of Datwell's current world record run or even my own personal best. If I'm not top dog, why am I even making this video? Well, that's because I had one final ace up my sleeve. A final move so devastating that it would turn the tables on every run submitted before now. In my original save file, there is a new game plus section that had a value of 2. This value keeps track of whether you've beaten the game before and can proceed to endless mode. Trick is, when you first start out, there is a forced death and the evil frog won't even fight you. The Evil Frog final boss fight takes forever, partly because he has 2 phases and partly because he talks for so long. Check out my and Datwell's PBs. With this one move, I save over 1.5 minutes and take back the title of world record. The video's not over yet. Once again, I've stepped outside the confines of normal play to achieve a crazy speedrun, and I have to ask, am I cheating? The speedrun category rules specifically say, with a completed fight against the second boss. The Evil Frog killed me, but I still got the victory screen afterwards. Did I complete the fight in the spirit of the rule? I think the real question I want to answer is, why did I die? This is a forced death. The first time you play and get to 425, you die. The way this is implemented is pretty frustrating and confusing to the player. When I first got to this final boss and was killed, I was under the impression that I did not get enough max HP along the way. This is incorrect, and although the splash text tries to explain that it was just a crystal that needed to be awoken, I think this is lost. This design will confuse the player as to the goal of the game and potentially distract them from the true core, which is to build your deck. The forced death tries to accomplish 2 things. Give the player a hint that the Evil Frog also uses your board, and create more replayability. In the first regard, I think an opening cinematic with the Evil Frog might have been a better choice to give the player a hint about the upcoming battle, if the player even needs a hint about this boss mechanic. As far as replayability goes, I think the game already accomplishes that with Endless Mode and with the secret dice unlocks really well. It makes me want to replay rather than forces me to. So I think from a story perspective, it would be better to use a forced death early on if you want to show how powerful the Evil Frog is, rather than after the player has already sunk a lot of time and effort into a good run. And use positives like Endless Mode and dice variation to encourage players coming back. Anyway, that's what I have. The fastest run of Prologue by anyone to date. Let me know in the comments if you think this is a fair run, and then watch another video suggested here on the screen. Thank you. Haha. Evil Frog, he just talks, then we're done with the fight. GG, Frog. GG. Too bad for you. Look at that timer keep going. And it keeps going through the spotlight too. There's a lot of time just spent on just dying. New world record, baby.